very happy to welcome you on this very special occasion. It's a special occasion because we are trying to revive the memory of Jayantha Premachandra. I mean, it's very important for us, and we discussed that for nearly a year with Lanka Premachandra, how to have the occasion to give the tribute and to offer the tribute to Jayantha Premachandra. He was a very well-known painter. He studied, of course, in Sri Lanka, in Russia, and in France and in Scandinavia. And unfortunately, he died in France in 1988. But what is important is to have his memory with us, and his daughter Lanka tried to revive that, and that's what the exhibition that you had few days ago was trying to explain, and that's a very important, the tribute to an artist, and a very important, I think, a very important artist, Sri Lankan artist with different influence, but a very important Sri Lankan artist, and is part also of a school of artists, a very important schools, and we have to be ready to revive and to have these remembrances of another time. It's 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now I think what was this time, what was the cultural impact of this time, it's still very important for us, I mean, culturally. The second part of it, it's why we are here. We are here also because Lanka chose to sell two paintings of his father to get some money for an hospital, for the general hospital, and for a very important action, and she will elaborate on that, and you know all about it. But I think this way to use art to help people, it's a very important thing, and that's why I'm very happy to be here on the occasion where we will give the product of this auction to the General Hospital.
Joining me right now is the CEO of the Stroke Support Organization in Sri Lanka. Please welcome Dr. Arjuna Fernando. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, hello, thank you.
So today tonight is dubbed Revive Part 2. We all know what went down with the whole auction exhibition event. It was a success, by the way. And all two events combined, the whole idea of all these events was, funding for your organization, for upgrading the, I guess the, I would say the equipment for the neurology ward for General Hospital. So what does this both combined events mean to you?
Yeah, I work as a neurologist at the National Hospital, and as all of you will know, it consists of lots of old buildings, very old buildings, and new buildings. So I work in a very old building, which is basically coming apart, and conditions are far from optimum. So Lanka saw this and came up with the idea of starting a fundraiser to refurbish the building. And then stroke was a subject which was very close to her heart because both her parents suffered from it, and so she very kindly agreed to give the proceeds of the sale, and here I am at the part 2 receiving the check. So this money will go towards improving patient facilities We don't expect to buy any major equipment with this, but we certainly hope to make the lives, their stay within the ward more comfortable.
Right. And in one word, how would you describe these two events for your organization? And since we're acknowledging the late great Mr. Jayantha Premachandra, in one word, how would you, I would say, describe this event?
Oh, I would just say both events have been spectacular.
Spectacular it is. And isn't this the campaign for the ages?
Campaign for the?
Ages, like, isn't this the best campaign of all time? Work since given the history with the Lanka's parents, and with the stroke organization and everything like that. Don't you think it's a campaign for the ages?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a very worthy cause, and I'm glad it went the way it did.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Doctor. Joining me right now is the Ambassador of France to Sri Lanka and the Maldives. Please welcome His Excellency Eric Levertu. How are you doing this evening?
Fine, thank you. Thank you very much.
So tonight is dubbed as Revive Part 2, Day 2 of the most campaign for the ages sort of event. And since the first event was a success of, being an auction exhibition sort of event, and it's all for a good cause, for the whole stroke support organization of Sri Lanka, and also we acknowledge the late great Mr. Jayantha Premachandra. What is your opinion on that, and what's your take on it's going for a good cause and everything like that?
Of course, I am very happy to be part of this occasion to revive the time and the works of Jayantha Premachandra. That was something that we discussed with Lanka Premachandra, his daughter, and we think it was important to have again the works of this very important artist for Sri Lanka, but also an international artist, and that's why we are in it. We wanted to be involved in this.
It's no surprise the sort of impact that Mr. Jayantha has made in the people of France as well. He has paved the way for future artists as well. And his idol was none other than Pablo Escobar. And I would say, how does it feel for you to be joined into this event, since you have collaborated with the Embassy France, Embassy of course, sir, and all of that? What's your opinion on that?
Of course, in this field of culture, it's important to work together. But let's say for culture, of course, always you have partnership. Always you have somebody coming and to try to understand another culture. And that's why exactly was the work of Jayantha Premachandra. First, well, of course, he worked here in Sri Lanka. Then he went to Russia. Then he went to Scandinavia and to France. And, on this exchange of culture, we have this works. And that is important to have this back. And that's all the things we want to do with Revive. And, this Revive one, to have this auction, and now to have this event. Also, this auction is not the end of the day; that's the beginning of something else with the work of a general hospital, and our culture will help humanitarian works. That's for us. It's very important.
This next question might be like $1 billion question for you. What does Mr. Jayantha Premachandra mean to you? And in one word, describe him, his work of art, and everything.
It's an artist from, let's say, 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. So it's a way to see and I have my age, so of course I can understand very well what was the culture and what was the thinking and the vision of world at that time. And it's very important for me to see that what Premachandra described, and especially these two works, refugees, despair. It's very important what we see right now in our world. Premachandra was also seeing that in his world at that time.
Wise words, I would say, Your Excellency. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Joining me right now is Dimanti. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, thank you.
So we are joined here for Revive Part 2. People have been dubbing it as that after the Success auction exhibition event where a couple of weeks back, right? And it's undoubtedly successful. So what's your opinion on both events and how all the charity going into the stroke support organization for General Hospital for new equipment? So what's your whole opinion on that?
Well, it's an area that needs a lot of attention. So we found that, and actually Lanka did, because it was first-hand experience, and because her mother was in the hospital recently. So then realized that the people are working under very difficult conditions. So we decided it's something that we need to get on with and help out.
Right. And what are your, I would say, opinion of us acknowledging the late great Mr. Jayantha Premachandra for 2 events in a row for a good cause also?
Well, the idea is to revive the artist also, and because he's been an artist in Sri Lanka as well as overseas in many countries. He has exhibited in Europe and in Iraq and in France, etc. So we thought he needs to be brought out to the public in this country so that people can get to know who he is. Right?
So in one word, I would say, how would you think about the road that Mr. Jayantha has paved the way for future artists? How it motivates them to become just like him? Also, I would not say, but be better at him as well. It could happen. It's no secret. So what's your thought about that?
Well, one word I would say is inspirational. And because the journey he's taken from the 60s when Sri Lanka was not even known around the world, and for him to go around exhibiting paintings from Sri Lanka, it's marvelous.
Thank you so much, Dimanti. Have a wonderful evening as well.
You too.
Joining me right now is the granddaughter of Mr. Late Great Jayantha Premachandra. Please welcome Ramdini Levira. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
We are here tonight for Revive Part 2. What are your thoughts so far?
So today we called it Revive Part 2 because we wanted to have the ambassador of France involved as he couldn't attend the auctioning event. So today it was where we were able to hand over the paintings to the bidders, and the ambassador as well as my mother Lanka Premachandra was able to hand over the paintings to the bidders.
Right, and I gotta ask, this might come off a repetitive question, might be the first time I'm asking this as well. What was the family process of, finally giving away 2 of his finest paintings away, but for a good cause, of course?
Yeah, we were not sure whether to exhibit the paintings or not, but since my grandmother actually faced a stroke recently, my mother was very much involved with the National Hospital, and she saw that there were a few wards that needed a lot of support, and in terms of facilities and just a lot in general. So we thought this would be a good cause to maybe auction 2 paintings, and the proceeds could be given to develop and uplift the National Hospital, the Ward 16 of National Hospital, the neurological ward actually. So yeah, that's when we decided to pick 2 paintings. It was a tough decision, but I guess yeah, that's how we made it happen.
Wonderful. And I got to ask you, in one word, describe these 2 events at a row. Because there have been words such as magnificent, marvelous, and since you're one of the individuals behind this campaign as well.
I guess I would call it historical because we, got all of this done because of the paintings that were done by my grandfather really, really long time ago. And yeah, it's definitely has to involve art history, as I always put the hashtag on all our posts for Jayantha Premachandra Foundation. So yeah, historical.
That's what I said. It's the campaign for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much, and have a good evening as well. Join me right now is none other than Samantha De Silva. How are you doing this evening?
I'm very good. Thank you so much.
By the way, Samantha, congratulations on the purchase of the painting, and you're one of the buyers as well. I've got to ask you, the painting's name is Refuge, right? What piqued your interest, since it was between 2 paintings? What piqued your interest with this painting?
So that's a really good question. I have worked for the last, I think, 36 years at the World Bank, and many of those years have actually focused on refugees, and whether it was in Congo, whether it was in Afghanistan, my interest has been on refugees. I also worked in Sri Lanka after the war in the north, focusing on refugees. So to me, this spoke of something more. I am also very interested in the artist because he is one of the few socialist painters that we had in Sri Lanka, and has a depth to his paintings which speak to me.
So I've been asking this question all night long, and people have given me multiple answers which are extravagant, I would say. And since you're a fan of Mr. Legram, Mr. Jayantha Premachandra, I got to ask you, what do you got to say about him? You could tell to the viewers at home as well.
So I think it's a remarkable era in Sri Lankan, during his time, it was a remarkable era in Sri Lankan painting because it was a socialist focus, and where you worried about the poor, you worried about the marginalized, and you worried about those who didn't have the same luxuries that were available to the general public, and that was your focus as an artist, to speak about the marginalized. And my father was a socialist, and I think I'm a socialist as well to some extent. But I think that was an important period in Sri Lanka. It also resonated with more global, the global art scene with Diego Rivera and people like that, who actually focused very much on the workers of the world. And to me, that's a very, very important area. As a World Bank staff, I have worked all my life focusing on the poor and on the workers, not the elite, but the workers. And I think the socialist painters of that time gave voice to some of those issues that the workers faced. And this particular painting, I think, is his only painting about refugees, of a Tamil refugee woman. And I think that's a very important part of our history. Probably one of the most defining things in our history was the war in Sri Lanka. And the fact that he chose to depict a woman who was a refugee in her own country, I think is a very powerful statement. Thank you.
Wonderful words, I might add, Samantha, and I gotta ask you, since we are living and breathing the word art tonight, so we've done for the past event as well, I've got to ask you, your sari is looking rather marvelous, and I've got to tell you, what can you tell about that?
So I want to say it's a Mondrian design. It's a depiction of Mondrian art, a French artist, as you know, and it is by Ohe Fashion, which is one of my favorite designers in Colombo. Thank you.
Wonderful, Samantha. Have a great evening and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Joining me right now is an individual who needs no special introduction. It's Lanka Premachandra. How are you doing this evening?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you're one of the sole individuals, I might add, behind this campaign. And how has it been? 2 events at a row. It's just a marvelous act, actually. You know, doing this, giving out your father's paintings, 2 most prized possessions away for the greater good. I would say, how did the whole process come about? Of, you know, I've seen you speak about before. You're very possessive when it comes to your father's work, and rightfully so. You have to. And how did the whole process come about?
Well, the whole process started after my mother fell sick. She's also suffering a stroke at the moment, and then after 33 years, I started reviving my father's work, and so I combined both these objectives together to raise funds for the hospital, basically. We auctioned 2 paintings to help the neurological services at the General Hospital. So that's it, yeah.
And how, in one word, how would you describe these 2 events at a row, since we are dubbing this as Revive Part 2?
So today it was to hand over the 2 paintings auctioned to the 2 bidders, and we are having it at the French ambassador's residence. Mr. Eric Lavertu was hosting this event so that we can hand over the 2 paintings which were sold to the owners, and also to hand over the checks to the hospital.
What are your thoughts on the fact that your father has paved the way for future artists, and not only, you know, won the hearts of the people of France as well? That's why the Embassy of France is involved in this campaign as well, I would add. What's your take on that?
Well, my father passed away in France in 1988. He settled down in France in 1984. Basically, he did not come back to Sri Lanka from 1984, and only, as I said, 34 years later only I started reviving his work and his legacy. So that's it.
And in all, it all starts well and ends well, I suppose, because all in all, not bad. Everyone's talking about you, and a marvelous campaign you put together as well. I don't think remarkable is the word, not a proper adjective I could give you. Thank you so much for giving us this wonderful opportunity as well, and thank you for being inspirations to others as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.